German engineers knew the final drive was too weak before the first Panther left the factory. They built it anyway, because the alternative was delivering no tanks at all. There's a version of the Panther story that goes like this. Germany's finest tank, a machine so advanced it left Allied engineers stunned when they first encountered it, ultimately defeated not by enemy firepower, but by its own mechanical fragility. That version is true, but it is also incomplete because it skips the engineering decisions, the production pressures, the calculations that were made and unmade under conditions no peacetime designer would accept. The Panther did not fail accidentally. It failed because of a specific component in a specific way, for reasons that engineers understood and documented and were ultimately powerless to correct in time. That component was the final drive unit, and the story of why it broke, consistently, predictably, on virtually every Panther that ever rolled into combat, is one of the most instructive engineering failure cases of the entire war. Before the failure can be understood, the system needs to be understood. In a tank's drivetrain, the engine produces power. The transmission divides and manages that power across gear ratios. But before any of that power reaches the tracks, before the tank moves a single meter, it passes through one final reduction stage on each side of the hull. These are the final drive units, two of them, one driving the left sprocket, one driving the right. The job of the final drive is to perform the last and largest gear reduction in the entire drivetrain sequence. The engine turns fast. In the Panther's Maybach HL230, peak power arrived at around 3,000 RPM. The drive sprocket that moves the track needs to turn far more slowly, with far more torque. The final drive is the bridge between those two mechanical realities. It takes high-speed, low-torque input from the transmission and converts it into the low-speed, high-torque output that actually propels 45 tons of tank. The engineering consequence of that function is significant. The final drive gears carry the highest torque loads in the entire power transmission system. They are the last reduction, which means every inefficiency, every shock load, every demand placed on the drivetrain arrives at the final drive amplified. If the engine lurches under load, the final drive feels it. If the driver engages a gear harshly, the final drive absorbs it. If the tank turns on hard ground, one final drive locks while the other takes the full torque of the engine trying to rotate the hull. In a properly engineered tank, the final drive is sized to handle all of this. In the Panther, it was not. The Panther began as a response to the Soviet T-34, encountered in significant numbers on the Eastern Front in 1941. German designers had nothing in the medium category that could engage it on equal terms at battle range. The design brief that eventually became the Panther called for sloped armor, a long, high-velocity gun, and a broad track for cross-country mobility. What the brief did not initially account for, or rather what the engineers failed to fully reckon with during the development timeline, was where the final weight would land. The Panther Ausführung D, the first production variant, entered service weighing approximately 43 tons. This was already beyond the figure the drivetrain had been optimized for during early design work. By the time field modifications, additional armor plates, and equipment additions had accumulated through subsequent production runs, combat-loaded Panthers were routinely approaching and exceeding 45 tons. The final drive units were not redesigned to match this growth. The gear teeth inside the AUSF-D final drive were sized for a lighter machine. The tooth profile, the case hardening depth, the bearing specifications, all of these parameters had been set against a weight assumption that the finished tank exceeded by a significant margin. Engineers at MAN and within the inspection system identified this discrepancy. Reports were written. The tooth geometry was flagged as inadequate for the actual operational loads the unit would experience. Production continued. The industrial logic was brutal in its simplicity. Redesigning the final drive meant halting or significantly slowing a production line that Germany's war situation could not afford to pause. The calculation was not that the final drive was acceptable. The calculation was that delivering Panthers with a known weak final drive was preferable to delivering no Panthers at all. That decision had consequences that played out on every front where the Panther served. The final drive failure mode on the Panther was not random. It was consistent enough that experienced crews and maintenance units could characterize it with engineering precision. Inside the final drive housing, a cast steel unit bolted to the lower hull front on each side, sat a cluster of spur gears performing the final reduction. These gears were case-hardened. Their outer surface was hardened to resist wear, while their core remained relatively ductile to resist shock fracture. The case-hardening depth on the Panther's early production final drives was, by the assessments of German ordnance engineers themselves, insufficient for the tooth root stresses the gears experienced under operational loads. Under sustained operation, particularly cross-country movement, repeated hard turning, and the shock loads that accompanied engagement and disengagement of the steering system, the tooth roots experienced stress concentrations that exceeded the material's endurance limit. This is not catastrophic overload, it is fatigue, the slow accumulation of microscopic damage in the material, invisible until the moment a tooth root cracks and the gear tooth separates entirely. When a final drive gear tooth failed, the consequences were immediate and total. The separated tooth fragment became a loose body inside the sealed final drive housing, where it was then carried into the remaining gear mesh. Within seconds, the remaining teeth were destroyed in a cascade failure. The final drive seized. The sprocket on that side stopped turning. The Panther stopped moving. The failure rate documented in operational records from the 1943 Eastern Front campaigns was severe enough that German maintenance units established informal distance-based replacement schedules. The figure most consistently cited in period maintenance reports and post-war technical analyses clusters around 150 kilometers of operational movement as the typical service life of an early production final drive unit under field conditions. 150 kilometers. For context, the operational depth of a significant armored advance on the Eastern Front could easily exceed that figure in a single week of sustained operations. The Panther's combat debut at the Battle of Kursk in July 1943, the largest tank engagement in history by most measures, became an unintended demonstration of the final drive problem at operational scale. The Panthers committed to Operation Citadel, roughly 200 vehicles, had been rushed to the front following an accelerated production and training schedule. Many had received minimal running-in time. Some had already experienced final drive failures during rail transport unloading and the short approach movements before combat even began. In the opening days of the operation, the Panther losses to mechanical failure, of which final drive failure was the dominant cause, rivaled or exceeded losses to enemy action in several unit reports. Panzer Regiment 51 and Panzer Regiment 52, which operated the Panthers committed to the southern pincer, reported vehicle availability figures that alarmed higher command. Tanks that had arrived at the front were being abandoned on the approach routes, their final drives destroyed, their crews unable to effect field repairs on a component that required workshop-level attention. The images that survive from the aftermath of Kursk include Panthers sitting intact in open fields, visually undamaged, abandoned because the drivetrain beneath them had destroyed itself. These were not tank losses in the conventional sense. No enemy projectile had penetrated them. They were engineering failures, made visible at operational scale. German engineers were not passive in the face of the final drive problem. The modification record across the Panther's production life reflects a sustained effort to address what everyone involved understood was a critical deficiency. The gear tooth geometry was revised. The case hardening process was scrutinized and improved, with deeper hardening depths specified for later production batches. Lubrication specifications were updated. The final drive was sensitive to correct oil grade and fill level, and early field failures were partly attributed to incorrect servicing. Improved seals were developed to address oil loss under operational conditions, which had been accelerating wear in units that were running low on lubricant without the crew being aware of it. The WWII variant, which entered production in 1944, incorporated the most comprehensive set of these corrections. Field reports from units operating late production WWII Panthers describe meaningfully better final drive reliability compared to the WWII. Not perfect, but operationally more sustainable. But the fundamental constraint was never fully resolved. The final drive remained a component sized for a tank that was lighter than the tank it was installed in. Every improvement was an accommodation to that underlying mismatch, rather than a correction of it. The Panther was, by any legitimate engineering assessment, an extraordinary machine. Its 75mm KWK-42 gun was among the finest tank weapons of the war. Its sloped frontal armor made it difficult to kill from the front at typical combat ranges. Its suspension gave it a cross-country ride that crews consistently praised. On its best days, against the right opponent, it was exactly what the design brief had promised. But a tank that cannot move cannot fight. And the Panther's final drive ensured that the gap between the machine on paper and the machine in the field was measured not in performance figures, but in kilometers. Specifically, in the 150 or so that separated each final drive from its own destruction. The engineers who designed it knew. The ordnance officials who approved it knew. The production managers who decided to build it anyway knew. Everyone in the chain, from drafting table to factory floor to frontline maintenance unit, was working within constraints that precluded the correct solution. That is not a comfortable engineering story. It is an honest one. Surviving Panthers can be examined today at the Bovington Tank Museum in England and at the Musée des Blindes in Saumur, France. Stand beside one. The scale of it, the width of the hull, the size of the final drive housing bolted to the lower front plate, and what you are looking at is the physical record of an engineering decision made under pressure with incomplete information against an impossible deadline. That is not unusual in engineering history. What is unusual is how completely and how consistently the consequences played out exactly as the engineers predicted. If you want to keep going deeper inside history's most extraordinary machines, how they were built, how they worked, and why they mattered, subscribe.